What if you knew that you were standing on holy ground? Have you ever walked carefully in a cemetery so as not to step on a gravesite? Have you ever gone into a church or a cathedral or a temple or a mosque, not as a tourist, but as a devotee of the sacred? Or perhaps nature is your spot to feel connected to something greater, a higher power. Maybe you've experienced the awe and wonder of looking up at the Milky Way in West Texas. Do you remember how that felt? Just close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing on holy ground. And as you open your eyes, recognize that all is holy, that we are standing on holy ground. Just the fact that it exists, we exist, and just imagine everything that's happening underneath that ground. As in the reading, the worms, the grubs, the things that are happening underneath as things are decomposing and being reborn. It's a mystery to us, isn't it, how all that happens? John O'Donohue, in his book Beauty, the Invisible, writes, "Reverence is respect before a mystery, but it is more than an attitude of mind. Reverence is also physical, a dignified attention of body showing that sacred is already here. And reverence is not reduced to a social posture. Reverence bestows dignity, and it is only in the light of dignity that the beauty and mystery of a person will become visible. A sense of reverence includes the recognition that one is always in the presence of the sacred. We're always in the presence of the sacred. And it's just right there below the surface. Hence our affirmation, I trust the hidden wonders within me, where my strength and stability lie. Now, in this mystery of nature, there is this concept of beneathness, as was described in this morning's readings. And this beneathness represents that vibrant, writhing substrate that sustains life above. And it's teeming with the decomposers, the fungi, the roots that weave together the fabric of ecosystems. And when we connect with this unseen world, taking off our shoes, when is the last time you've done that? And walk barefoot and well, maybe place your ears against the bark of a tree and just become aware of that nature. And we become entrained with the symphony that's happening. And it's happening in every person, place, and thing. And it's happening where we see it. And it's also happening below the surface. And it's the same in our lives. We have this life that we live on the surface, and yet there is something deeper within us, that hidden mystery. So Ernest Holmes, in his exploration of life essence, reminds us that life is all there is. And if life is all there is, this is everything. This is not only the beauty and vitality we readily embrace, but it's also the decomposition, the decay, the death that are integral to the cycle of life. And Holmes emphasizes that something cannot come from nothing. And thus life, its source and substance, that is all that exists. It exists everywhere, all at the same time. In Taoism, the Tao is understood as the hidden womb of life, the unseen depth from which all things rise and to which all things return. This is a quiet, fertile beneathness, just under the surface, that nourishes the world beneath appearances, like roots under soil or stillness beneath movement. Like when you see the duck floating in the water, it looks very calm, but you know those little webbed feet are moving. And again, Lao Tzu taught us that the most powerful forces are subtle and unseen, emerging not from what is visible, but from a deeper, mysterious place. All things arise from being, and being arises from non-being. And non-being is not absence, but it's the origin of life. The roots, the darkness, the decay, the silence are not endings, but they are beginnings. And so just as we remove our shoes to meet the living earth, Taoism invites us to rest in the deeply hidden, to feel the pulse beneath appearances, and to remember that what sustains life is often unseen, humble, and sacred. So we know this. We know how a seed works. If a seed is on a tree, great, but it's not going to do anything there until it goes to the earth, until it falls to the earth and is buried. Unless it does that, it's a seed, and maybe it's somebody's dinner, but it's a seed. But by going down and going deep, it gives rise to new life and bears fruit. Now, part of this process is the seed, which contains everything that it needs within it. It has within it the DNA, the recipe, and stored up nutrients that help it grow. But another part of that process is the soil. And the soil is made as old leaves and twigs and little creatures that have composted and decayed, where the seed can then quietly lie and take root. And it takes both then the light and warmth of the sun to bring that forward and the cool dampness down underneath the seed. So all of these things have to be there. It takes the wonder of life, and it takes that wonder of death, of letting go. And people are like that seed. Sometimes we have to lose ourselves to find ourselves. So today we're going to be talking about letting go and going deeper and recognizing that there's something deeper within us. Last night, I watched an NBC special on Wicked. It was called Wicked One Wonderful Night. Oh my goodness, it was wonderful. The audience in itself was fantastic. And of course, the performers were just excellent. The cast of Wicked. And the congregation is all in costumes. And they showed several places where the super fans had made videos and sent them in. But as watching, I was really enjoying it. But what grabbed him was at the end. So at the end, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande sitting together, facing the audience, address the audience, and they say, Wicked is a movie that teaches us to look beneath the surface and see the beauty in our differences. Oz has always been a magical place, a place that celebrates uniqueness and embraces every color of the rainbow. So because I've been thinking about this whole underneath the surface, beneath the surface, that made such an impression on me. Wicked is a movie that teaches us to look beneath the surface and see the beauty in our differences. Beneath the surface, beneath those appearances, who are we? What kind of people are we? What kind of uh, things are going on in our inner life? And is that inner life congruent with the one that rejoices with friends, that assists people? That are we congruent? So as I was thinking about this and thinking about the movie Wicked, and of course this sequel is going to be coming out in 2 weeks, so that's the reason for it, for the celebration. It's like, yeah, beneath the surface. And what are we looking at? What are we doing? And it's such a great movie to show the differences in people and to see, what is good and what we think is not good and what's going on. So the idea here is if you're wise, like that seed, you're not going to be afraid of the dark, not afraid of looking to see what's there, because that's where transformation takes place. And if we're like the autumn leaf or the bloom that's faded, we're not going to be afraid to fall when our time comes, because that's the gateway to a new and different life. And I've never thought about the soil or what's going on underneath the soil, but that's where things are being transformed in that dark night of the soul, in the darkness beneath the soil. So this life is just that continuous dance of being nourished by, the remains of what was. And that's how it is in our lives. We're being nourished by all those things that happened to us, all those things that we thought were terrible at the time, or even things we thought were wonderful at the time. All of those things that have come to pass make up who we are today. And this process is often something we overlook. We say, oh no, that was past. I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm going to live in the present. That's great. But we are supported by all of our actions in the past. So beneath the surface means that something is hidden or it's not immediately obvious. And it could be that physical location beneath the surface, but it's also a metaphor for looking beyond what is apparent to find that deeper truth, that hidden emotion or hidden meaning. It's kind of like the Princess and the Pea. You know that story. And Carolyn Myss talks about it in her intimate conversations with the divine. She says, the princess kept stacking mattresses on top of a small pea, yet she could still feel it, which prevented her from sleeping. And that pea is our holy interior. She continues, we've done our best to cover it over, to forget about it, partly deliberately and partly out of ignorance of its essential role in our well-being. And yet that sacred still calls to us. We'll never feel quite right, never quite at peace until we're communicating with our own soul and the cosmos. At the end of the day, we're sacred beings. So embracing all of life, including its less visible aspects, we understand that this past, this decomposition and death is not separate from this vibrant life that we live. It's this sacred ground, alive with that unseen activity that we find that essence of oneness. Life in all its forms, all its phases, continuous cycle of renewal. Yes, it is amazing. Everything interconnected and every aspect of existence, even those we might shy away from, contribute to the wholeness of being. Francis of Assisi had a unique wholeness. Richard Rohr writes this. He says, he was at once very traditional and entirely new in his ways of holiness. He stood barefoot on the earth and yet touched the heavens. So as we reflect on this full circle of life, we align ourselves with the rhythms of nature, deeper truths of existence. We learn to see the beauty in this fall, in this when the leaves fall, the sacredness in the falling leaf, and the eternal dance of life that unites us. Ernest Holmes says, in all forms of healing, all that can be done is to let the inner light flow to restore us to our original pattern of perfection. So we are warmed by that light. But sometimes I don't want to look at what lies just below the surface. Maybe I don't want to know about that. And yet I know that that's something happening there. Past experiences, history, old beliefs, and relationships. That's who I came to be today. So the good of bad of every action all contribute to that rich tapestry. And all of us make mistakes, even when we make mistakes. So there was a biology student doing his thesis on wasps. And he's walking down the street and he passes a record store. Remember record stores? In the window, he sees a record. It's called Wasps of the World and the Sounds They Make. This is his bailiwick. So he walks into the store and he says to the shopkeeper, I'll have that wasp record in the window, please. He said, I've been listening to so many wasps, I'll probably be able to know each and every one of them. And so, of course, he's quite smug as the shopkeeper says, oh, that's great, But the student pays and leaves, and then he gets home, puts the record on. It goes. But the man is stumped. He doesn't know what type of wasp this is. Then he waits for the next track. And then again, can't identify which species of wasp this is. So he gets to the fifth track, still can't identify it. And he breaks down. He says, I can't identify a single wasp, and yet I'm doing my doctorate on wasp, and I'm already an expert. So he calls his professor. The professor comes and listens to the record. And when he arrives, the student explains, I thought I was an expert by now, but I can't identify a single wasp on this whole record. So the professor ponders for a minute and looks at the record. He says, I see what the problem is. And he said, what is it? He said, you've got it on the B side. So we all make mistakes, and we think we know more than we do. And sometimes we're just on the B side. But all of this helps us to grow and to learn. And we have this self-conscious, subconscious mind, and it's self-aware. Ernest Holmes tells us the conscious mind is self-aware and creative, but beneath the conscious mind is the subconscious mind, which is a deeper level of creativity. And in this deep subconscious area, we have laid down thought patterns, beliefs, ideas, feelings, hopes, doubts, fears that make up the experience of our lives. And so what we need to do then is to turn over that soil, turn it over and examine and evaluate its contents, because that's our foundation. That's where we're coming from. So just as the gardeners take out the rocks and debris to ensure that the plants have room to grow, we have to identify and pull out old beliefs or experiences that no longer serve us. And this act of introspection helps us create a better environment for our growth and well-being. I don't know about you, but I've repotted some plants lately because they were root bound. And they needed more soil, and they needed that richness and room to grow. And so by embracing this soil, these things that have gone beyond us, that have decomposed by now, and we are able to provide that fertile soil to cultivate a deeper sense of oneness and authenticity. So in the Sufi path of awakening, there's a quote, there can be no rebirth without a dark night of the soul, a total annihilation of all that you believed in and that you thought you were. So the guy thought he was a wasp expert, and maybe he was. He was listening to the wrong side, the B side. So our lives, our histories, holy ground, rich with sacredness. And every moment of our past, whether joyful, painful, mundane, contributes to this person who we are. So we honor all parts of ourselves, the good, the bad, the ugly. And we recognize the holiness. Part of this special last night on Wicked, there is a scene with Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande singing that song, which I love, is Because I Knew You. And I know Lisa has sung it for us, and it's just so beautiful. Because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And this was so touching to see the two of them singing to each other, and their eyes, just looking into each other's eyes. So beautiful. And this is a sacred moment when they recognize each other, not only as the characters, but in truth, the actual actresses together, looking deeply into the soul. And even when we're listening to the B side, it's a reminder that every part of us, our brightest achievements, our darkest moments, it's all reference. It's a sacred intent of life. And it moves us continuously toward growth, toward recovering everything that is lost and orphaned within us and restoring it that divine imprint that we were born with. And it's something to be gentle with ourselves. Thich Nhat Hanh says, when we walk like we're rushing, we print anxiety and sorrow on the earth. Be aware of the contact between your feet and the earth. Walk as if you're kissing the earth with your feet. So our life has become economic and practical. This is what Joseph Campbell says. He said, our life has become so economic and practical in its orientation that the claims of the moment on you are so great. You're always doing something that is required of you. Where is your bliss station? You have to find it. Put on that music you really love or get the book you like to read. In your sacred place, you get the thou feeling of life, that reverence for that life, that feeling that you're standing on holy ground. So as we go out this week, I invite you to embrace, acknowledge, honor the intricate layers of life that go unseen. We all have them. In our lives, this includes the rich tapestry of past experiences, memories, emotions, the good, the bad, the ugly. I was just thinking if Lisa had sung that song. Each of these elements contributes to the foundation of who we are, providing nourishment for our growth and evolution. And by delving into that personal compost, we cultivate a deeper understanding of ourselves, recognizing the sacredness in every part of our journey. And this allows us to appreciate the beauty in everyone else. Because I knew you, I've been changed for good. Let us remember that we are all one and take that into our meditation, into our prayer treatment right now. Oh, the oneness, the beauty, the amazing awe of it all. In this moment, I just stop to feel that. The awe, imagining that Milky Way of stars, imagining the grandness of the cathedral, the beauty in the temple. It is awe-inspiring. And so I recognize that there is something greater than I can even imagine, something greater that inspires that awe, that reverence for all life. And knowing that there is one life, and it contains all that is. One, with so many different names, so many different qualities. And we know this one life by the qualities we can see, just like we know the wind from the evidence of it. And so we recognize love, that quality of spirit called love. In all kinds of relationships, love wins. Love is what keeps us moving, keeps us together, keeps us growing and supporting and being with each other in community. That love. And I also see the absolute abundance of the universe. I see it on the leaves and the trees that are so willing to give and nourish, surrender their leaves to the earth where they can be recycled, supporting and nourishing the earth. So knowing love and abundance, I also see this creative energy of life. People creating all over the world, creating beauty and art and music and expressing that feeling through life itself. What a joy it is to be able to express creatively. And so giving thanks for this love, for the abundance for the creative expression, and knowing that we are all complete, perfect, and whole just as we are. No matter whether we are green, whether we are in Oz, whether we are tilling the land, one life, one love, complete, perfect, and whole. And I just rest in the knowing that this is so. I rest in the perfection of the universe, knowing that all is well. And so I let it be. And I invite you to join me in that release. And so it is.